I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by contribution from Shoop. Shoop sent in a video clip from this podcast, the PBD podcast, Patrick Bet David, which I'm a fan of. I follow him. And funny enough, his studio is literally within walking distance to where we live. It's like literally, it's at the corner of Commercial Boulevard and Dixie Highway. So it's funny. It's valuetainment. But he had sent me in a clip a couple weeks ago of an interview with this guy, Steve Schmidt from the Lincoln Project. And it's just like, Schmidt's bashing Trump and all. And like, I've been real apprehensive with doing it because it's politics. And obviously, since I stopped talking about politics so much, my channel has taken a positive direction. So like, I'm really trying to avoid that. And at the time, it was a bit of an older clip anyway. It wasn't really relevant. But what I did find from the same podcast is this interview right here, this segment right here, how boomers are hurting the next generation. I think this might be a little bit more in line with the direction of the channel and what the channel's been about, more succinct to what the channel's been about. So, that being said, let's just get into it, shall we?
Here's a question I got for you, Tom. Which burden is a bigger burden? For example, kids are a big burden on the parents, right? When you have kids, it's a lot of work. You don't sleep. There's a reason why this panel, out of 4 of us, 2 of us have kids, 2 of us don't, and we're all over 40 years old, okay? There's a lot of responsibility with having kids. It's a lot.
There is a lot of responsibility, but, like, it's not that much of, it's not a burden. Like, I found, like, raising kids, like, when I was still with my ex-wife, and, the actual raising of my daughter and Aaron wasn't that difficult. It wasn't. It was expensive, because it was 2 income and daycare and all that, but the actual raising of a kid isn't that burdensome.
A lot of work, okay, and it's constant. Last night we're dealing with plumbing. Kids got to take a shower. You got to put them to sleep. You got to get up early. It's just a lot of work when you have kids. What burden is more painful? The burden parents put on their kids for having not made proper decisions in life to get the kids off to a good start, or is the bigger burden the kid that is so responsible, that is always embarrassing the parents, drugs, financial issues, constantly being in trouble, not making the right decision? Which is a bigger burden? Parent to kids or kids to parents, Tom?
Parent to kids right now is a bigger burden because of the boomers.
You know what question I'm asking?
Yep. Well, as a parent, I think it's kid to parent, because you feel embarrassed, you feel ashamed, you feel responsible. You were supposed to raise this kid and turn him, her, it, or they into a responsible citizen.
Yeah.
And that would just, to see my kid failing, I feel pain for their pain, and then I feel embarrassment, and then I feel responsible, and then I feel, what could I have done different here? I think that's a bigger burden than the burden that maybe a parent puts on a kid to perform, even though we've seen suicides in kids from parents that made straight A's an absolute deadly
Let me ask a
requirement.
question in a different way. So, for example, Tom, so, our job is to take care of the elderly. Got it. So, I'm taking care of my dad. You're taking care of your mom. We're supposed to take care of whatever this person needs, mom needs, that person needs, we got to take care of. Okay, fine. How much of that would a burden?
Your job. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's your job, especially if you have abusive parents. It isn't.
Of the prior generation being passed down to the next generation is okay. What is the responsibility of our generation to the next generation?
Got it.
Economically, is it okay to just kick the can and say, listen, guys, you guys are young. One day you're going to have to take care of this. You pay the price for this. Your grandma's old. Your dad is old. It's on you. You can handle this. You're only 28. You're only 35. I'm 69. At what point is that burden an unfair burden the prior generation is passing down to the whole thing about
I mean, it was unfair to us since the very beginning, because everything the boomers done has been kicking the can down the road at us and telling us what we're responsible for and what losers we are for not being able to accomplish what they've accomplished.
Weak men create hard times create. So
Strong
maybe
men-
a
strong men
generation
create easy
made
times,
weak
easy times,
choices, and the
Right. Who created the weak men in the times? The boomers did. And again, if you're not one of these boomers, I'm not talking to you.
next generation is paying the price for it. How much of that is okay for a generation to pass down so much burden on the next generation?
Different kind of question. I think what we're doing to the next generation is unconscionable. And
Right.
I think what they're carrying is they have to figure out how to make it in the most expensive, economic times of all time, number one. And number two, now they're going to be told the only way to take care of all these boomers, and doesn't the last boomer retire on Thanksgiving this year? I think it is. Between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, the last boomer retires.
Good luck. Good luck getting them out, because they're still all over the place. Yeah, they should be. So this Thanksgiving, 2 weeks away, the last boomer should be gone. Should be retired. They're still running everything.
Or hits that first retirement age milestone. And now it's like, hey, listen, all the boomers, yeah, the trust fund's going to be out. The Medicare and Social Security Trust Fund, you can look up, you can find that chart, Rob. It's going to be gone. And so we're just going to keep, that little dial that says 6.5%, 7.5% Social Security. We're just going to keep turning that dial, because there's two trust funds that are in there. I think it's the medical trust fund, that they're related to Medicare and Social Security. And both of those trust funds, there's charts out there that say they are dead in roughly 11 years. 11 years the trust funds that are in there go to zero. And when they go...
You hear that, Gen X? There's no money in Social Security. There's no money in Medicare for us. It's all been taken and borrowed against by the boomers. Done. Right when they're ready. And now the last boomer is set to retire Thanksgiving. Awesome.
Go to zero, the only choice is to hyper-tax those who are working, and that is an unconscionable burden on the next generation.
Okay, so here's
Great. So you want to make up for that, more taxes. More taxes, Gen X. More taxes, millennials. More taxes, Gen Y, Gen Z, and everyone else. And the boomers aren't dying yet. I mean, they're not all dying off. So your taxes, again, is still going to hopefully fund your retirement, which isn't going to be there anyway. But really, what the taxes are going to be funding is the boomers to end of life at this point.
By the way, the last boomer turned 65 in 2031, so we still got a few more years left. The last 46 to 64.
Okay, 20 to 2031.
So if you look at 64, 36, 23, the oldest boomer right now is 59 years old or something like that. They got 6 more years, so it's 20. The youngest boomer is like 57 years old. So 19.
Youngest boomer is 57 years old, which means Miss Yoga Pants from Mrs. Strange Daughter is not Gen X. She's a boomer. She is the youngest of the boomers, but she is a boomer trying to claim Gen X. You're not Gen X. She's a boomer. Thank you.
46 to 1964. I'm just doing basic math. So 57, they got 9 more years. 8 more years.
I've been reading about the 59 and a half rule. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 59 and a half is going to be probably in 2 years. But
yeah, he's not accounting for the Generation Jones boomers. See, those Generation Joneses, and they are the most vicious of the boomers. Okay, those Gen Jones boomers are the most vicious of the boomers. Try to claim Gen X, and they're not. They're not. They are the opposite of Gen X, because they are the most toxic of boomers there is.
The youngest boomer turns 65 in 2031. Regardless, it's 76 million of them, and it's a lot of money. So here's a part about that for me, it's deeply concerning, and no one wants to have this conversation. We can have this conversation because we're not looking for your vote. We don't need your vote. We're not running for nothing. We don't need Congress. We don't need your money. We're not running for governor. We're not running for president. We're just having conversations, okay? As a sales organization I run, the best way to describe this, Tom, I think you'll understand this. So in our business in insurance, when you're around for a long time and you build a big agency, what ends up happening to you is you start making millions of dollars, but you don't work anymore, okay? Not the guy that starts the company, because you're always working, because every lawsuit, everything comes to you, right? But if you build an agency within a company, it could be New York Life, it could be Transamerica, it could be Primerica, PHP, you can go on so many different companies. If you build a big block of business with a lot of insurance agents, you can all of a sudden one day wake up saying, hey, babe, we're making $2 million a year and we ain't work. This is the least I've worked in the last 20 years. Okay? So then that generation is famous for sometimes not wanting to do the work, taking the money, and wanting to change the compensation structure to benefit them. Because
exactly. That's what the boomers have done the entire time. They get in on something, okay? Then they sit back, they change the entire structure of taxes or compensation that all benefits them to kick the can down the road for future generations to pay for. And then they will look down their nose at you and say, why can't you do it? You're responsible for this. You're a loser because you can't do that. That is the boomers. Again, if you're not this type of boomer, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not saying it's every boomer. It's a majority of the generation. And the more of these type of videos that we review and we go through, you can see it's a majority of the generation.
What ends up happening is the longer you're in the business, your override and commissions on insurance, the renewals kind of goes away because you're no longer building new offices. So the override's going away from you. So all of a sudden you catch yourself going to $200,000 a month in income, 220, then it goes to 180, 160, 140, and then you level off like at $100,000 because you're no longer growing your book of business. Very interesting, very simple. This happens quite often. The people at the top, the elderly, the people that are no longer working, start saying, we need to change the compensation plan to pay us more. This is not fair. And they take comp away from newest agents who are just starting their practice. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yep.
So the small business owners that are starting their practice, they are now getting a less of a comp than the person that has been around for 20, 30 years.
So basically, he's talking about like in the insurance biz, a new agent is getting less comp. It's no different than starting a job as a young person today. The salaries are going down for the people, for the workers, for the people at the bottom of the chain. Meanwhile, the compensation keeps going up and up and up for the boomers at the top. And then the boomers at the top never relinquish power. They don't retire. And they just keep changing the rules and keep changing the structure to benefit them and to hurt the people at the bottom.
If you can go to Twitter, Rob, yesterday I responded to the, what do you call it, the incredible Hillary Clinton. Such a sweetheart. If you can go, she did not respond. But you got to go to this tweet. Zoom in right there, okay, and go to her tweet. Her tweet says, as of today, it's been 14 years since $7.25 minimum wage was last raised. President of the United States, Biden, supports raising the wage to at least $15. MAGA Republicans have repeatedly blocked an increase. What do you have against millions of working families making more?
It's not, and again, it's not the hourly rate of pay. It's the boomers have devalued the currency. They have printed so much money. There is so much paper money out there that they keep creating out of thin air by just printing it. That's why everything is inflated. You don't need to raise salaries. You need to take cash out of circulation so it stabilizes the currency. It's the dollar test. Once again, how much bread does my dollar buy? In 1968, let's say a dollar bought you 4 loaves of bread. Fast forward to 2023, that same dollar buys you half a loaf of bread. You would have to increase the minimum wage by to make it more than $15 an hour to make it comparable. You'd have to make it like $30 an hour to make it comparable to the economy the boomers were handed back in the 60s.
Response. What do you have against small business owners? Fortune 500 companies would love to see minimum wage increase. They can afford it. It's the small business owners who risk their life savings that can't. You're indirectly helping eliminate competition for the big guys.
Great
okay?
point. Weird.
So there is no response. What are you going to say to that? So okay, guess what? Walmart.
Right. Like how does some mom and pop bagel shop pay $15 an hour for a for a teenager, and they're not even teenagers working there anymore? I mean, the other problem is with immigration and with all this immigration that's coming, you got adults, grown-ass adults, with families of 5 trying to support a family at a job at a job at Publix, at a job at 7-Eleven, at a bagel shop, jobs that were generally intended to be part-time jobs for teenagers on the weekends, after school, or an adults who weren't the smartest in the world, maybe, not so much learning disabled, some learning disabled, but maybe on the slower side. That's who those jobs were meant for. But they've imported so much immigration and so many people, so many adults taking jobs from teenagers. Teenagers never even get their foot in the door. They get no work ethic. The mom and pop shops, they can't afford to pay that. A Fortune 500 company could care less. They're not hiring anybody at minimum wage anyway.
Mark loves the fact you raise minimum wage. Joey's Market, that's been there for 73 years, past that 3 generations, now is out of business. You're like, dude, that was fantastic. Thank you, Biden. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Bernie. You eliminated this guy that was a pain in the ass because my market in this area just went up 13% because I was losing it to the other guy. Okay.
Yeah, the Waltons love that. That's who owns Walmart. These people bought the Denver Broncos for what? $4 billion? Yeah, thank you. Now all these mom and pop stores are out of business. These small supermarkets, these groceries are out of business. Now everybody's got to come to Walmart, and they have no problem paying minimum wage. What do they care? And they don't even hire. They hire minimal staff anyway. Go into a Walmart, try to find somebody to ring you up on a register. Everything's self-checkout now, regardless. And that's the other thing these companies do. They eliminate the worker completely with self-checkout. So raising minimum wage does nothing but hurt the lower classes. Hurts the mom and pop stores. Thanks, boomers.
So indirectly, if we don't talk about this, the older generation, I believe, you can come at me all you want, I don't need your vote, I'm simply sparking a conversation. I believe the older generation is being unfair and bullying the younger generation and not thinking about what they're going to be having to do 10, 20, 30 years from now because they're going to be dead.
They don't care. It's not even who other than a sociopath wouldn't think about the future of their children, the future of their family, the future of society. That's how sociopaths think. That's the boomers. It's a generation full of narcissistic sociopaths.
And that's absolutely unfair. It is a burden that some of these guys cannot handle. And these politicians, guess what they say? This is the line. You ready? Here's what the media will ask a politician that's running for office. Will you say right now that you have no plans of changing any benefits to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? Can you say it right now to everybody that's watching this? I have no plans of...
Yeah, of course.
What you're saying is, I have no plans of taking care of the next generation that's going to suffer the consequence of your burden.
It's basically, don't worry, boomers. Don't worry. Because they're worried about that boomer vote. Because there's no organizations that protect the younger workers, that protect the younger generations. It's all about protection of the boomers.
That they're probably never going to have Social Security benefits, Medicare, and Medicaid. So to me...
These same boomers will cry about welfare for the poor or food stamps for the poor, okay? Or housing for the poor, and in the same breath say, don't take my Medicare. Don't take my Social Security, which was a Ponzi scheme from the get. It's hypocrisy. They don't care.
I think when you think about parents, what responsibilities do we have to the next generation? What responsibilities? What do you think a good parent, what does a good parent owe their kids? What do they owe their kids as great parents? What do we owe our kids?
Well, we owe them structure, discipline, true love, not enabling love, but true love is I love you so much that I'm going to put boundaries around you to prevent you from making mistakes. It's not that I love you so much I'm going to bribe you with ice cream to get you to cooperate. So it's true love, boundaries, respect, discipline. You put that in a package, that's what you owe your kids.
Let me ask this question. Is there a tradition where your parents, for the longest time, would help you with the first, 20% down payment on your house, or a way to get you started, to say, hey, son, you're just getting started. You're 28 years old. You're about to get married. You're starting your career. You're about to buy $1 million house. Guess what? I'm going to help you with the down payment of the house to get you guys going. Okay? That's what I'm going to be doing.
It used to be. The boomers had that help. How many of us did?
Do you think that ought to be a part of the responsibility of parents to get their kids started in a climate like this.
Absolutely not.
Tell me why.
I mean, if you're rich, you know, that's a conversation you could have. Some people elect to maybe say, I have friends who are well off, and they'll say, well, we'll pay for your wedding, or we'll give you a down payment on your house. I don't know a lot of people whose parents are just like, yeah, a couple $100,000, got you. I don't think that's a thing.
I didn't say a couple $100,000.
Or, okay, 50 grand, whatever the number is.
50 grand. By the way,
I don't know. Do you know a ton of families that do that for their kids?
I think in the Middle Eastern side,
Of course.
that's a big part of the Middle Eastern culture.
big
Maybe I gotta
It used to be a big part. As a big part of the Italian culture, it was a big part of American culture back in the day. My parents made the same. Well, we can either give you money for a wedding, or we can help you out with a house. And I think what they ended up, you all know my story. Everything is a carrot at the end of a stick with the boomers. Once it comes time to put up or shut up, they shut up, and they give you a million reasons why they're rescinding, and you don't deserve what they promised to give you or help you with.
Start hanging out with Middle Easterns more
But
than...
let me ask you a question. In America, I'm actually sincerely asking this question. If you have a son or a daughter, who pays for the wedding in America?
The daughter.
The family of the daughter or the family of the son?
Typically the
The
daughter.
bride's parents.
Right.
It's a long-standing joke. Show up, shut up, pay up. And that's
Okay.
the joke they always make about the bride's father.
Is that tradition still going on today?
For the most part, yeah. I mean,
Would you say it is?
Yeah, it is.
You're
Yeah,
saying
it
it
is.
is?
The last
Yes?
wedding I went to, that's how it.
Yeah.
let's keep that tradition going,
Yeah,
guys.
come on, guys.
Let's not stop that.
In my
Well,
circle of
Thomas,
See, yeah, my ex-wife's parents paid for most of the wedding, and and I told this story in the past. Piece of shit my father is. He said he pulled my ex-father-in-law on the side when they met, and he's like, look, you cover most of the wedding. I don't want these kids covering anything, because he would always play the good guy. I don't want these kids covering anything. He's like, I'll take care of the limos and the flowers and the dresses and the dresses. And then when it came time to pay, he paid for nothing. Like, no, we'll help you with the house. And said, see, again, my father, like, the boomers love kicking shit down the road. And my father's like, oh, no, I never said that. I never made that. Like, yeah, you did. And we didn't tell our in-laws at the time until our wedding day. The problem was our pictures ran over. So the limo ran over, and they needed, we needed to pay for the extended time for the limos. And this is on our wedding day, and they needed payment like then and there once we got to the reception hall. And I was like, God damn, this is my wedding. I don't have my wallet on me. I'm not carrying a wallet or credit cards. So we had to go up to my father-in-law, my ex-father-in-law, and say, listen, I don't have my wallet on me. The limo ran over. Can you pay for it? And he's like, why didn't your father pay for it? And then we looked at each other and we looked at him. We didn't even have to tell him. We're like, he goes, did he pay for the flower? Did he pay for rent? And he just went out. To his credit, he went out. He took care of it. He came back in. He's like, it's your day. It's taken care of. So, I mean, that was to his credit. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Oh, Meat, you're such a piece of shit. You're such a piece of shit. You did that. And now my ex-wife is there kissing his ass, hanging out in his fucking hot tub. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
Circle of friends.
Lobbying for the other way around.
My circle of friends are...
He's got 2 daughters.
It's still happening
right.
this way.
Okay, got it. So
That means you're going to be 50-50 on this thing. Is someone will pay for your boys?
I will gladly want to give this way and this way.
Yeah.
I want to gladly be a flag carrier to do this way, because without them I'm not around, and without them I'm not around. But I think there's too much of burden coming down from here in this generation. I don't think right now a 22-year-old, 25-year-old graduates in a better climate than they were in. Like, we're having a conversation. Peter was asking a question last week. What was the question you were asking? You're like, Pat, how is Brandon going to buy a house? He says, and I've done what for myself? How are these people going to buy a house? I don't understand how people are coming out of their careers. How are you going to buy a house? The thought of buying a house today in your 20s and you're a regular person, not you're a peak performer, you're the top guy sales. No, I'm talking about a regular person. How does a regular 28-year-old person that got out of college, they got a job starting at 50 grand a year, then they go to, you get 3% raise. Let's say you get 4% raise every year, okay?
50 grand. Good luck getting a job. It's starting at 50 grand. That was unheard of.
4%, you go from 50 to what? 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 63, 66, 60, what? 69, 73.
In 10 years,
70.
right?
It's 15 years before you're at 75. After taxes, you're only making $4 grand a month. The mortgage payment is $3 grand a month. Yep. So if we go the way we're going right now, the average guy coming out of college making 50 at 22, 23, 24, 25, you ain't making 100 till you're 40. So if you ain't making 100 till you're 40, you're paying 30% in taxes. That's
But you're never going to make. But to his point from earlier, you're never going to make it to 100 because the people at the top keep changing the fucking structure to pay you less, to change things around so they make more and you make less. So you'll never make it to 100 grand. Never. Because they're going to keep raising taxes to pay for their retirements, to pay for their pensions, to pay for their Social Security, to pay for their Medicare.
$70,000 a year. That's $6,000. How the hell are you going to buy a house? A $600,000 house. First of all, you need 20% down payment. 20% on $600,000 is $120,000. Where do you find $120,000? You've been paying taxes every year. You need someone to help you out. So to me, I think the messaging's got to be from parents is, one, what value are you passing down? Okay. What burden are you going to be lifting off?
And mind you, what the housing market was when the boomers were buying houses in the 70s and 80s. My father's house in Jersey, in North Jersey, in Hasbrook Heights, they bought that thing in 1970 for $38,000. It's now worth $750,000, worth $750,000 on Zillow. The house down the shore that they bought in 1993, when with the money he scammed out of the old lady from across the street, he bought that for $160,000. It's now worth $1.1 million. Why can't you get 20%? Well, gee whiz, I can't figure it out.
Your kids, okay? Is it like if I'm sitting here as a parent thinking, and if I have to decide between, let's just say I'm a regular person, I don't have the money that I have right now. Say I'm making 92 grand a year. I'm having a conversation with my kid and saying, hey, Dilly, question for you. Would you rather have me pay for your college, or would you rather have me give you $50,000 at 25 when you start your career or you get married, and I help you out with XYZ? When Jennifer and I were getting married, I had money in the bank. I asked Jennifer the following question. I said, babe, do you want a house? Do you want a big wedding? Or do you want a big ring? I'm not doing all three. And by the way, for us, ain't nobody paying for the wedding, dog. Not from neither side, because neither of our families have money. Yeah. Okay? Yep. One's from Arkansas and LaPorte, Texas, and the other one's a cashier at a 99-cent store. My dad brought a 99-cent Clippers hat from 1990s to say, hey, here's a gift. But they gave us a love. That's what we got. We got nothing else. So I'm sitting there saying, which one do you want? And she says, babe, I don't care. I have money. You know how much I paid for Jen's ring when we got married? $3,000. Wow. I'll give you the exact number, $3,300. She wears it till today. That
was expensive back in the 90s. $3,300 is pretty good for a ring. It's not a bad ring.
Okay, awesome. Till today. We kept the cash. We rented, and I said, I'm not buying a house because we're going to put this money into our business. Good. And we had a big wedding. And our wedding, 450 people. It was great. We had a great time. Fantastic. It was good to go. But I think those types of...
And to me, a big wedding is a waste of money. You're better off putting it into a house or a business.
Conversations need to be had more today to say, hey, kid, I can pay for your college, or you can figure out a way to get through the next phase. And then when you get married, I got $25,000 for you. And when you decide to buy a house at 25 years old, once you show me you can make 80 grand a year or 100 grand a year or 60 grand a year, I got $50,000 down payment to give to your house. I think parents have to also realize we have some kind of a responsibility for them, because the burden is a big burden right now on kids. Yep. Massive burden on kids right now. I don't know if this is a comfortable conversation anybody wants to talk about, because the burden will be on a lot of boomers who are sitting there saying, no, they need to take care of us. Mm-hmm. Man,
I don't care if it's comfortable or not.
Of course, the boomer they expect you now to wait on them hand and foot. Not happening. Not happening.
But I think it's a very necessary conversation. I've told my kids, and I think Bailey, the golf girl, is probably listening right now because it's summer and she and the BizDoc babe tuned into the podcast.
Hi, Bailey.
But hello, she says hello. Hello. And what I told her, I said, look, you will come out with no debt. I will make sure through your college education there's no debt. But every penny you get of scholarship, whether it's athletic scholarship, academic scholarship, every penny that you can offset through your attainment is yours. And we're gonna talk about how we use that when you graduate. You want to use it starting out, fine. You know, weddings are a different thing. But Pat, I've told them, I said, look, this is what I'm going to do. This can help you start if you're starting a business, whatever you're doing. Yeah. But I'm not infinite here. I'm not an infinite piggy bank. This is what we have for college. If you contribute with good academic performance and stuff, then some of that you're saving for yourself. And that's a contract that I've made with her, and she gets it.
Well, let me just say this. Your daughter's very lucky to have a father like you. Yeah. Because you've done very well for yourself. You love your kids a lot. You're an ideal father. You're amazing. Most kids don't have that type of parent in their life. Meaning, they might have the love, they might have the structure, they might have the values, they might have the principles, but their parents aren't in the top 1%, top 10%. So they got to figure it out elsewhere. I love the example you gave of the 25-year-old who's making 50 grand, then he's making 52, then he's making 55. There used to be a time in America, a generation ago, where a working man can have one job, the wife could stay home with the kids, she didn't need to work, and he could pay for the family, the mortgage, the car, the dog, the fence, the boom, the everything. Those days are long gone.
Right. You need to, and I've said that a million times, we need to get back, and how you do that is you need to take some cash, you need to take the cash out of circulation to stabilize the currency. The reason why you need 2 incomes and maybe 3 or 4 jobs to maintain what your parents did is because they have devalued the currency, because they keep printing money, borrowing money, funding their own retirements, funding Social Security, borrowing against it, and then burdening us with it and raising our taxes.
So women work these days. Now it's a lot of times it takes 2 incomes to raise a family. You know, a lot of times they joke and they say that the richest people in the world are dinks, dual income, no kids, and because kids are expensive. I think they cost about $250,000 a year from 0 to 18. And it's a situation these days. And women are making more money than ever. And they're looking at average men and they're like, why do I need you? I make more than you. That's why they're all going after the top 10% of men. And there's a whole dating situation going on these days. According to the Department of Agriculture, I don't know why they're doing this. It costs $233,000 to raise a kid from 0 to 18 unless the kid's working on a farm. That figure is likely closer to $288,000. But another point, you talked about the burden. You know, the baby boomers have sort of done the millennials and the Gen Zs dirty, right? They've run up the debt. They haven't saved a ton of money. You hear Bernie Sanders constantly complaining, 50% of all boomers are going to retire with no fucking money. But as Vinny's favorite...
Because they spent it on themselves. That's why. Thinking that they're going to have their Social Security, that we're going to fund now their Social Security for them. Without a care in the world that we can barely afford anything. And there's going to be nothing left over for us. Less than nothing.
Word constituents, that's who's voting. So the politicians are always going to pander to the old people because they're going to come out and vote. And they're going to vote on the key issues, which are entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those aren't going away anytime soon.
And it's them.
Yeah. And the politicians are also 70 years old.
We're talking about the same
Exactly.
group.
So you're looking in a mirror over here.
But let me
cohort.
Let me tell you what I can't stand when parents do to their kids. I just got to tell you, and I've been around. I was trying to study my 20s about parenting, and I'm like, yeah, my dad didn't do that. My dad never said make money so you can take care of me. He's never once said that. Matter of fact, I had to force my dad to move to my house. He never wanted to come be a burden on me, ever. He never wanted to be a burden on me, ever. Like, it was hard for him to already move here. Now, don't get me wrong. He's settled now. He's doing great. He's happy, but he's still working until today. But I think when I see parents do stuff like this, well, Joey here is going to grow up to be a professional Major League Baseball player, so daddy doesn't have to work anymore. You know what a turnoff it is when I hear a father say something like that? You know what a turnoff it is when I'm watching a De La Hoya documentary that's talking about, my dad told me, hey, mijo, you got to go be a boxer so we don't have to work anymore. We can stop being poor. Hey, why don't you do that? Why?
Exactly. It's like Charlene's father. She tell, when she was still in contact with him 10 years ago, and she was, doing her writing then, and her father's like, oh, great. All I want is a little farm. All I need is a little farm. So before she's even made it with her writing, her father's already thinking about what he's going to be able to get out of her. Oh, I just want a farm. Oh, really? Do you? But this is the fucking mentality. Charlene dealt with it. My father has too much fucking arrogance to expect me to pay. No, he likes to throw his money around and show you how much he has. That's like a thing for him. But there's the other type of boomer who's there now looking at what you got and thinks they're entitled to it.
Why didn't you do that? Like, why? Like sales leaders, I'll see them talking to their sales guys, and they'll say stuff like this: "Hey, you know, you need to go run appointments at 10 o'clock at night." And what are you doing at 5 o'clock? You're at the house watching the Lakers play. You need to run appointments at 10 o'clock at night. You're telling your sales guys to go. How come you're not running appointments so you can get the override? It's this concept of people asking others to do the work that they themselves didn't want to do. Why not set the example for your kids? Why not set the example?
Right. That's boomers. They expect you to do the work that they never wanted to do. Period. Since we were kids, especially Gen X, since we were kids, they've been running that game on us.
Of you improving yourself in your 50s and your 60s. There are parents right now that are 60 years old. They're thinking they're dead. Bro, Tony Bennett died at 96. You got 35 more years of living to do, and you're only 60 years old. This concept of, you know, my body hurts, I'm in pain, I'm in this, I'm in that, totally get it. My dad, if you look at his hands, okay, if you're around my dad, his stomach, he, you know, what do you call it?
Distension.
The intestines, he's got a hole in it. So
Protruding?
No, his intestines comes out all the way out here. He has to wear a belt to push it in. Okay.
It's an abdominal hernia.
Abdominal hernia is what he's got. He walks like a hunchback of Iran. Okay. Dylan makes fun of him every time he walks. Dylan does the walk. He says, "Daddy, this is how Papa walks," and he does his walk, and they're so funny. His hands, arthritis. Okay. The guy was in a hospital a couple months ago. Never once has he used that as an excuse to not work and improve himself. Do you know how much relatives of my dad, my mom said, couldn't stand him because he kept working, and relatives that we had in our family since 40 years old have been bitching about not being healthy, and they were 10 times healthier than my dad.
Right.
And my dad had 13 heart attacks. This is
because the boomers were always looking for the younger generations and others to do for them so they could profit off it. And again, not all boomers. Not all boomers. If this isn't you, I'm not talking to you. Don't be offended by it. But most boomers, and boomers will turn on each other if there is a boomer who's doing things the right way, because now you're making us look bad.
not a comfortable conversation to have. I totally get it. Like, I'm not going to make any new friends today. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to walk in Palm Beach, a 72-year-old lady's going to come and say, "Hey, how are you? You're an asshole. You know that? I can't believe you want me to work." No, I think the burden is being passed on, and these guys' dreams is not becoming a reality.
Yeah, those boomers in Palm Beach, believe me, when I was doing the windows, I dealt with plenty of them living in their fucking gated communities, acting like they're goddamn oppressed somehow. They're not. They're not. They're not oppressed. They're entitled.
Yeah. So can we save this thing in 1 year? No. This is something that can be fixed in 20 years. This is not a 1 year fix. But we can't sit there and say, let's keep passing down all this stuff to the next generation. Screw them. They got to figure it out. They're younger. I don't think it's fair. Hey, if you enjoyed this short clip, you want to watch the whole thing, click over here. But if...
Okay, so that's the end of that. So, very good. I mean, it's a very good clip. You know, it really tells the story of the boomer generation. I like his podcast a lot. He's very popular. I mean, 5 million subscribers. You should see the building he has. I mean, he has this massive building with Valuetainment on it at the corner of Commercial and Dixie Boulevard. It's literally I could walk there in 5 minutes from where I'm at. So maybe I should go talk to him, wait for him, and say, hey, you should pick up the Ollie Matthews channel. That would be fun. But he gets it. He gets it about boomers. He does. So, again, they have this entitlement to them where they change the rules, they make everything different to benefit themselves with no regard of future generations. So, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Shoop, for the contribution. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I didn't do the clip you wanted. It at this point, it's just too political, and the channel's just going in the right direction right now. Talking about who is just going to trigger the algorithm, and it's going to bring things in the wrong direction. So I hope you're satisfied with this. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to subscribe to both my channels on Rumble. Follow me on Twitter and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.